My husband gave the medicine that could have saved a life to his lover's son, and because of that, our daughter died. I was completely destroyed by this and swore that after I got a second chance at life, I would never look back. It happened that both my daughter and the son of my husband's lover became very sick and were in the hospital at the same time. My husband had the only available dose of the medicine they both needed to survive. He chose to give it to his lover's son. Our daughter passed away. After that, I lost all hope in my husband. I left him a divorce paper and moved away to a small village in the mountains to work as a teacher. One day it was raining very hard and the ground was shaking because of an earthquake. I saw my husband, who I thought was cold-hearted, trying to move heavy rocks. His hands were covered in blood and I could see deep cuts on them. Then, I woke up again. It was the day my daughter had been fighting for her life. Mark, this time, I will not look back. After the earthquake, the heavy rain started. It felt like the whole world was covered by a dark curtain of sadness. I was floating above everything, watching a group of soldiers hurrying to the scene of the disaster. I had died. He should be happy now, shouldn't he? I was stuck under a big, heavy beam, and my thoughts were starting to fade away. That was the last thing I thought before I died. The earthquake had come without warning. I only had enough time to tell the older children in my class to run outside. There were still two kids, about 7 or 8 years old, in the classroom. They were too scared to move and were crying loudly. I turned around and ran back inside, seeing the beam about to fall on them. I used my body to shield them. The beam hit me in the back, and I tasted something metallic in my mouth. Even breathing hurt. I wasn't afraid of dying. Ever since my daughter was gone, I had been living like a zombie. Half a year ago, I couldn't save my daughter. Today, I had to save these two children. I felt a strange kind of happiness. I would finally get to see my daughter, Lily. Lily, Mommy is coming to find you. As my thoughts faded completely, the pain went away. When I became aware again, I was floating in the air. A team of soldiers was moving forward in the rain. The person leading them looked familiar. As they got closer, I realized it was Mark. He was tall and had wide shoulders, a narrow waist, and determined eyes. He looked strong and dependable, which was usually comforting. Unfortunately, that strength and support were never really for me. After the initial shock, I felt a calm I had expected. This area, Qingyuan County, was under Mark's military command. It made sense that he would come here for earthquake relief. I wouldn't fool myself into thinking he had come because of me. The village chief, wearing a raincoat, went to greet Mark as soon as he arrived. "Mark," he said, "when the earthquake hit, Teacher Sarah was giving a class. The kids who ran out said she stayed behind to save the students who were still in the classroom." I raised my eyebrows. Mark had been promoted in the year since I left him. The village chief pointed to the ruined buildings, his face looking sad and worried. "Teacher Sarah was a good person," he said. "She never acted like she was better than us villagers. She taught seriously and was kind. Everyone in the village liked her." Mark's eyes, sharp like a hawk's, looked over the collapsed houses. He frowned slightly, and I thought I saw a hint of worry on his face. In the 6 years we were married, Mark had always been distant and cold towards me. I must have been imagining things. Without the right tools, they had to move the broken bricks, tiles, and wooden beams by hand. Mark worked as hard as anyone else, and his hands quickly became torn by the rough materials. Blood started to appear, then was washed away by the rain. "Mark, you should go get your hands bandaged," a soldier couldn't help but suggest, seeing how carelessly Mark was working. "We can handle the rest." Mark didn't stop or even look up. He refused, saying, "I'm fine. Just make sure everyone is careful." The soldier knew Mark's personality and was worried, but he couldn't change his mind, so he just started helping him instead. After about half an hour, the pile of rubble was finally cleared away. The two children I had protected were only slightly hurt and were taken home by their parents. Floating in the air, I saw my own body. It was a strange feeling. Mark was shocked at first, then ran towards me. My body was twisted under the weight of the beam and wasn't a nice sight. He knelt beside me, holding me in his arms, looking helpless. "Sarah," he whispered, sounding lost. "I'm sorry. I'm late." He continued softly. "I've missed you and Lily every single day this past year, remembering our time together. I'm sorry. I was too foolish to understand how I felt until after you left. If I had known letting you go would mean losing you like this, I would never have agreed to it. Mark's eyes slowly turned red, and tears mixed with the rain on his face. I was shocked. Mark was crying for me? Before I could fully understand what was happening, I heard Mark begging, his voice full of helplessness. Sarah, Sarah, I love you. Please come back. I've already lost our daughter. I can't lose you to. The man's voice was filled with deep sadness, like a bird that had lost its partner. It seemed incredibly ironic. I had fallen in love with Mark the first time I saw him, married him, and tried my best to be a good wife for 6 years. I carefully tried to get his attention and affection, but he was always so distant. He was always cold and seemed not to care about me, but he treated Lisa and her son with kindness. He even gave up our daughter's chance to live for her son. His regret and love might have been real now, but the way he had ignored me, neglected me, and showed such obvious favoritism in the past hurt even more. Mark kept talking about his real feelings and how sorry he was. I closed my eyes, feeling a deep pain. Mark, it's too late. Once upon a time, you didn't value my love. Now, I don't want yours. Our marriage was a complete mistake from the start. If I could live that time again, I wouldn't marry you. I said these words softly to myself. Mark seemed to sense something and looked up towards me. I was clearly just a spirit now. He shouldn't have been able to see me. But his gaze still sent a shiver through me. Then, I fell into darkness. Doctor, how is Tommy? Please, you have to save my son. A woman's voice, sounding like she was about to cry, echoed softly. It made you think that the person speaking must be very fragile. The voice sounded familiar. Who was it? I leaned against the cold wall, shook my head hard, and finally the blurry shape became clear. It was Lisa. She was collapsing in my husband's arms, crying in a way that was meant to make you feel sorry for her. My husband, Mark, was holding her gently, his face full of concern, looking at her with intense worry. The strong smell of disinfectant brought me back to reality. Hospital, Lisa, Mark. A sudden, bold thought came into my head. I had come back to life. I was back on the day a year ago and my daughter was fighting for her life. This time, I had to save my daughter. As I was thinking, the doctor's voice spoke again, saying the exact same words he had said in my past life. Lisa, don't worry. We will do everything we can to save the patient. The doctor paused, his eyes looking at the three of us carefully, choosing his next words. Tommy and Lily both have the same illness, but there is only one dose of the medicine here in the hospital. Getting more from the city hospital requires paperwork, which will take at least 3 hours to arrive. I'm afraid neither of them can wait that long. The doctor's meaning was clear. There was only enough medicine to save one child. Both were 4 years old, and their conditions were similar. Which child should we save? Lisa looked completely stunned, as if she had been struck by lightning. Her tears fell like rain. She truly looked like someone you should feel sorry for. Mark, it's all my fault, she cried. I'm not strong enough. If I hadn't been weak when I was pregnant and had Tommy too early, he wouldn't have been so weak and gotten this illness. Mark clenched his fists and the veins on his arms stuck out. I knew what he was struggling with. Seeing that Mark wasn't saying anything, Lisa took out a handkerchief to wipe her tears and then used her most powerful argument. Poor Tommy lost his father when he was born. If David were still here, he would find any way to save his son. David was always Lisa's way to influence Mark. Mark and David had been like brothers. 4 years ago, on a mission, David had taken a bullet for Mark and died a hero. The news had caused Lisa to go into labor early. And because of Mark's hidden feelings for her, affection, pity, guilt, all these emotions were mixed together. Mark had taken great care of Lisa and her son. If Tommy was sick, if there was a problem at their home, if Tommy got into trouble at school, Mark was the one who handled everything. Everyone praised him for being loyal and doing his duty. Only I knew how this loyal and dutiful Mark ignored his own wife and daughter. Just as I expected, I saw Mark unclench his fists. He took a deep breath as if he had made a decision. He looked at me. Sarah, he said, Let's save Tommy first. He's been weak since he was born. Lily is healthier and can last until the medicine arrives. Lily might have seemed healthier right now, but she had been sick often before she turned 3. While Mark was busy taking care of Lisa, I was the one who took care of Lily all by myself. Did he really think Lily was born healthy? All the hard work I had put in to raise Lily was not for him to use to repay a debt. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. I couldn't help but let out a sarcastic laugh. Why? Shouldn't we listen to the doctor about who should be saved? The doctor finally noticed the tension and started sweating nervously. He was just a regular doctor dealing with 2 military officers here. He couldn't afford to upset either of them. The middle-aged doctor started to stutter, and Lisa couldn't hold back her act any longer. She started crying again, looking miserable and begging me. Sarah, please give the medicine to Tommy. He was born early and can't wait. I grew up in a family that treated boys better than girls. I was lucky to marry David, who was in the military, but he died so soon, leaving me with just Tommy. Sarah, you are different from me. You had a good upbringing and married Mark, a successful man. Everyone is jealous of your family. Lost in her own performance, she tried to grab my hand to emphasize her plea. Sarah, give Tommy a chance to live. Lily is healthier. She can wait. Lisa, why should my daughter have to sacrifice her life for your son? I gathered all my strength in my right hand and slapped her hard across the face. I raised my left hand to slap her again, but a large hand grabbed it tightly. I knew it was Mark without even looking. He let go of my hand and turned to comfort Lisa. Talk all you want, but don't hit people. I hit her because she deserves it, I shouted. She was pretending to be fragile, and Mark would always take her side and her son's side. Mark, I'm fine, Lisa said, ignoring Mark's attempt to comfort her, and looked at me with tearful eyes. Sarah, as long as you agree to give the medicine to Tommy, you can hit me as much as you want. She took my hand and placed it on her face. Enough! Mark's anger finally boiled over, stopping Lisa. Then he looked at me with a final decision in his eyes. Sarah, David saved my life. I can't let Tommy die. He turned to the doctor. Doctor, give the medicine to Tommy. I will take full responsibility for whatever happens. With what responsibility? I asked. Last time Tommy got better, but my Lily died. Didn't you live perfectly fine after that? Knowing what would happen, I couldn't help but listen to him say it again. I wiped away the tears from my face. Mark, thinking about how David saved your life and how close you were, I accepted how you took extra care of Lisa and her son. I never said anything, but I didn't expect you to be so ready to give up on your own daughter. Lily having a father like you is her misfortune. Mark tried to explain. Sarah, I haven't given up on Lily. The doctor said in 3 hours at the earliest, they can change the medication, and then Lily will be saved. I mean, I do owe David my life. You're going to trade our daughter's life for his son's life? I stared directly at Mark, tears in my eyes, filled with anger and disappointment. Enough, Mark. You owe David your life. If you want to act like a servant to his wife and kids, that's your business. But if you've decided to give up on Lily, then from now on, you don't deserve to be her father. I will save my daughter myself. Right after saying that, I pushed Mark and Lisa aside and quickly walked towards Lily's room. My little girl was lying in her white hospital bed, her face red and hot because of her illness. My Lily was still here. Last time I had listened to the doctor and Mark, waiting in agony for the medicine in this hospital. But the medicine never arrived, and I lost my daughter forever. This time, I would definitely save her. I walked to the bed and picked Lily up. Mommy, I feel so uncomfortable. Lily woke up when I moved her. Her eyes were half open and blurry. Her innocent voice sounded far away, and tears blurred my vision. I blinked to let the tears fall, then put on a smile and softly comforted her. Lily, don't be afraid. Mommy's here. Mommy's taking you to a big hospital. You'll feel better soon. As I spoke, I gently patted Lily's small body and carried her out of the room. Just as I reached the door, I bumped into Mark. Where are you taking Lily? He asked. I looked at him with sarcastic eyes, not wanting to waste any more time with him. I'm taking Lily to the city hospital. What, leave her here to die? I tried to walk around Mark, but he blocked my way. Losing my patience, I snapped at him. Good dogs don't block the way. Mark was taken aback but tried to defend himself. It's not safe to take her to the city alone without knowing the place? Oh, really? I asked sarcastically, looking at him with amusement. So what, Mark? You're coming to the city hospital with us? How could Mark possibly leave Lisa alone? She had lost her husband and had to take care of a sick child. Poor thing. He probably didn't expect me to be so direct. Mark was silent for a moment and slowly lowered his hand. Sarah, I remember your grandma had a student who works at the city hospital. How about calling him to take care of Lily? Lisa and Tommy really need me here. I have a colleague who happens to be going to the city. I can ask them to take you and Lily to the hospital. The military personnel traveling to the city have specific duties and need many permissions, which is complicated and takes a lot of time. I couldn't wait, and Lily certainly couldn't wait. No need, I said. I'll find a car myself. Mark, after letting the doctor give the medicine to Tommy, seemed to feel some sense of responsibility because of my harsh words that he didn't deserve to be Lily's father. All right, you go first. Once Tommy is better, I'll come see you. I didn't care. Anyone can say nice things. Just saying something doesn't mean you'll actually do it. I had heard him say things like this too many times, but he always failed to follow through. Given a second chance, I wouldn't hope for his love or believe his promises. No expectations meant no disappointments. I didn't look back at him and left. I managed to find a ride to the city hospital using some connections and paying for it myself. The wind rushed through the car window, blowing my hair around as we drove quickly. In the quiet car, time felt like it was moving incredibly slowly. About an hour later, I arrived at the city hospital with Lily. Standing at the entrance was a middle-aged man with black-framed glasses, looking educated and kind. I hurried my steps. Dr. Evans! The middle-aged man saw me and greeted me warmly. Sarah, you're here. I got your call an hour ago. I understand Lily's condition. We can treat it here, don't worry. I followed Dr. Evans into the hospital. Thank you, Dr. Evans, truly. Dr. Evans pretended to be annoyed, his smiling face dropping slightly, looking a bit upset. Your grandma is my teacher, and your father and I are close friends. I watched you grow up, and I think of you as my niece. Just letting Lily's doctor know isn't something you need to thank me for formally. Dr. Evans had been taught by my grandmother. Grandma came from a family of doctors. She had studied abroad when she was young and returned with great skill. She met Grandpa in the military, and they fought together. They only had my dad, who wasn't interested in medicine but wanted to be in the military. Over time, Grandma stopped trying to teach him medicine and instead found that Dr. Evans had a talent for it, making him her student. I glanced at Dr. Evans, smiling as we reached the clinic. Luckily, we arrived in time, he said. This illness is common in children, and although the death rate is high, getting the medicine on time can change everything. I'll have a nurse take you to the ward, and the medicine will come soon. Tears of happiness came to my eyes. Thank you so much, doctor. A week later, Lily was much better. Today was the day we were leaving the hospital. I was packing up our things while chatting with Lily. Lily was sitting nicely in a chair by the bed, eating an apple. Mom, are we going home today? I smiled and turned to look at her. Yeah, are you happy about that, Lily? The little girl lowered her head, thinking so hard she forgot to eat her apple. I don't want to go home. Tommy always takes my snacks and toys. Dad always tells me since I'm the older sister, I have to share with my brother. He always holds Tommy and never holds me. When she mentioned Dad, Lily's mood clearly became sad. Mom, Dad is nicer to Tommy. Does that mean he doesn't like me? My marriage to Mark was arranged. Grandpa and Mark's grandpa were best friends who had saved each other's lives. Mark's grandpa suggested our families become one through marriage to show their thanks. Unfortunately, both grandpas only had sons, so the marriage plan was passed down to our generation. Because of moving for their jobs, Grandpa and Mark's grandpa lived in different places, and our families didn't see each other often, except for sending gifts on holidays. My mother died because of problems during childbirth, and my father died on a mission when I was 13. Grandpa and Grandma were both old soldiers with health problems that stayed with them, and they passed away 6 years ago. From a family of 5, it was just me and my grandparents left. 6 years ago, when Grandpa became seriously ill, he worried about me being alone and contacted Mark's grandpa about going ahead with the marriage plan. I wasn't sure what to think. If getting married would make Grandpa feel better, I was willing to do it. Before we got our marriage certificate, I met Mark and was pleasantly surprised. 6 months before, while walking through a narrow street, some rough guys had tried to bother me. Mark appeared like a hero and dealt with them, even taking them to the police station. It was late, and he was worried about my safety, so he walked me home. Most women look up to heroes, and I was no exception. But it all happened so fast that night, and I never got to ask his name or where he lived. Now, seeing him again filled me with happiness. I never expected the man I was supposed to marry would be my rescuer. He was good-looking, tall, and brave. These things made me look forward to getting married to him. With pressure from both grandpas, Mark and I got married. Holding the marriage certificate like something valuable, I was very happy and didn't notice the sadness in Mark's eyes. I put all my energy and hope into this marriage, but now my strong feelings were gone, leaving me hurt inside. Even though it was true that Mark treated Tommy better, how could I tell my young daughter that her dad preferred another child over her? That would be too cruel. I walked over to Lily, bending down to be at her eye level. Because Tommy doesn't have a dad, your dad treats him better. But Dad loves Lily a lot, too. When you were little, Dad held you all the time. Even I didn't believe that. I silently criticized myself, forcing a smile and gently touching my daughter's round head. Lily, if Mommy and Daddy live in different places, who would you want to live with? She threw herself into my arms, saying loudly, I want to stay with Mommy. I love Mommy. Kids know who truly loves them. I straightened her braids, picked her up, and said, Mommy and Lily will always be together. Let's go home now, okay? Okay. By the time we got home, it was already 4 in the afternoon. A thin layer of dust had settled on the furniture. Mark must have been too busy staying at the hospital to clean up. I quickly cleaned the living room and Lily's room, then took her downstairs to buy some food. Many parents were outside playing with their children. As we passed a large tree, Mrs. Johnson called out to me, and a few other women gathered around. Sarah, I heard you took Lily to the city hospital. Is she okay now? I squeezed Lily's hand, smiling as I replied, Thank you for asking. Lily's fine now. Look at her. She's full of energy. Mrs. Johnson nodded. That's good. Lily will be healthy from now on. Right after that, someone else spoke up with a mean comment. Sarah, you took Lily to the city hospital and Mark didn't go with you? Lisa's child was in the hospital recently and Mark was there all the time, like a dad. Anyone would think they're the real family. This woman was known for talking too much, and I knew she wouldn't say anything nice. I quickly sent Lily off to play with the other children. Some things are better not said in front of kids. I forced a smile, trying to make excuses for Mark's actions, but everyone could tell I wasn't being sincere. David saved Mark's life, and Lisa is alone with no family. It's only right for Mark to help his brother's wife and child. My parents had taught me to be strong and forgiving. I could handle taking Lily to the doctor by myself if Mark was helping Lisa. My explanation wasn't perfect, but it hinted at the truth about Mark treating Lisa and her child better than us. All the women there understood what I meant. If their husbands treated another family's child better than their own sick daughter, they would have made a big fuss, yet here I was, defending Mark. For years, everyone had seen how Mark treated Lisa and her child. In the past, I had stayed quiet, so they just saw it as something strange. But now, I refuse to just accept it anymore. Some people don't know when to stop their bad behavior. They would have to deal with the results of their actions. Mrs. Johnson looked at me with worry and patted my hand. I know you are understanding and reasonable, but Mark can't ignore his own family while taking care of Lisa and her son. We women need to show we are hurt sometimes. It's better to talk things through with your husband instead of keeping your feelings bottled up. Her words were meant to be helpful, but they didn't really affect me. I didn't want to argue with Mrs. Johnson. I said a few polite things and took Lily to the store. I could hear them talking behind me. I've noticed something isn't right with Mark, one woman said. He always goes to Lisa's house whenever he has free time and stands with Lisa and her son like they are a family. Mark is so focused on his friend's kid that he neglects his own daughter. I think Lisa isn't a good person either, another woman added. She keeps calling Mark every day. Clearly, she knows how to control men. The murmurs became quieter as I reached the store with Lily. After getting everything I needed, I put Lily to bed, closed the bedroom door, and sat alone in the living room. The warm yellow light from the lamp filled the space, while the moonlight from the balcony cast a sad glow. I looked around at the things I had chosen to decorate the living room. The curtains, sofa, coffee table, and tablecloth were all things I had picked out carefully. Mark had always been busy with his training, missions, and work. Then, after David died, Mark often visited Lisa, saying he was just taking care of his friend's widow. At first, I believed Mark was just helping out the wife of a friend. But then I saw the way he looked at Lisa. I knew those eyes well. I had admired Mark, and I recognized that look. That night, I had cried until my eyes were red under the blankets. Logically, I knew I should just leave him, but I couldn't let go. I believed that if I was a good wife to Mark and took care of everything at home so he didn't have to worry, he would finally notice me. But I was so wrong. A first love that never becomes real turns into a feeling of regret that lasts forever. It stays in his heart and becomes my constant shadow. In this life and the last, I had finally seen Mark clearly. I was done trying so hard to please someone who didn't love me. Walking away now was also a way of respecting myself and loving myself. This time, I was leaving him, and I wouldn't look back. The clock slowly ticked to 9. The night was dark like ink. I heard the sound of the door opening. It was Mark coming back. Seeing me in the living room, he seemed surprised. "Sarah, you're back? Why didn't you let me know ahead of time? I could have picked you and Lily up." People who care don't need to be told what to do, and those who don't care never learn. If Mark really cared about Lily, why didn't he call the city hospital or come to see his daughter? I let out a cold laugh and spoke with sarcasm. How could Mark have time to pick us up? He must be busy at the hospital taking care of someone else's child. My sarcastic tone made Mark realize I was unhappy, and he annoyedly unbuttoned 2 buttons on his shirt collar. "I admit I didn't think this through," he said, "but Tommy is seriously ill and Lisa has no one else to help her. Lisa taking care of her child alone is sad. I feel like I don't have a husband because my husband is busy acting like a father and husband at someone else's house. Compared to her, I am the one who is truly sad. If you love taking care of Lisa and her son so much, why not just make them your real family?" I interrupted impatiently. "Mark, let's get a divorce." Since I had come back to life, I had thought countless times about how I would ask Mark for a divorce, thinking I would feel heartbreak and sadness. But as the words came out, I felt calm, like a still lake. I watched Mark's shocked, surprised, and disbelieving face with a strange kind of interest. "Sarah, why do you want a divorce? Is it because of what happened with Lily?" We had been married for 6 years, and I had kept the house running perfectly. Mark never had to worry about chores or social events. He was rigid and stuck in his ways, not liking changes to his routine. Yet his confusion came from me disrupting his life, not because he cared about me as a person. I sighed. It's not just about Lily. While taking care of her at the hospital, I thought deeply about our marriage. When I married you, I was so excited and full of hope. But when I realized you liked Lisa, I was heartbroken. Mark didn't expect that I had noticed his feelings for Lisa and thought his excuse of taking care of a friend's widow had hidden it well. He became defensive, nervous that his secret was out. "Sarah, you're thinking too much. Lisa and I are just friends. I'm looking after them because David saved my life." Defending the woman he cared about, his words came out quickly. I laughed without humor, playing with a piece of my hair. "Maybe you and Lisa are just friends, but your actions show you care about them more. Mark, you can fool other people, but you can't fool yourself or me. I used to love you, so I know what it looks like when someone loves another person." Without letting him respond, I looked out into the dark night, memories coming back to me with the sound of insects. "Do you remember when I had just given birth to Lily?" Mark looked confused, clearly having forgotten. "I had just given birth to Lily when you came back from a mission, and told me David had died saving you. Lisa went into labor early because she was sad, and you spent day and night with them, making baby formula, washing diapers, and having someone make soup for Lisa. You did everything a father and husband should do. While Lisa was getting all your care, I had to look after Lily alone. The water in the winter was so cold, and my husband was washing another child's diapers, ignoring his own wife and daughter. Tears rolled down my cheeks, and I wiped them away. Once upon a time, those days were very hard to go through, but now I could talk about them calmly. I felt sorry for Lisa losing her husband and having no one to depend on. I thought that once her child was older, things would get better for her. But I didn't know how huge the responsibility of raising a child truly was. You have to worry about what they eat and wear, and when they get sick, it breaks your heart. When they grow up, you worry about their education. After that, you worry about their jobs, then them getting married, and finally helping with their kids. I stopped and looked seriously at Mark. Mark, given your close relationship with David and Lisa, you can't possibly just leave Lisa and Tommy. But I don't want to share my husband with anyone else. And I don't want Lily to share her father's love with other children. They say both hands are important, but they aren't treated the same. Both children got sick at the same time, and you chose to leave Lily. That's the clearest proof. Disappointment builds up bit by bit until you finally give up completely. Mark never cared about what I thought before. As long as everything was peaceful at home, he was happy to focus entirely on Lisa and her son. But now that I had told him how unhappy I was, he couldn't pretend he didn't know anymore. He quickly tried to defend himself, reaching out to grab my hand, but I pulled away. Sarah, I admit I've neglected you and Lily in the past. Please give me another chance to make it up to both of you. Mark's promises were as believable as pigs flying. Mark, I don't need you to make it up to me. Save your fatherly love for your best friend's son. I am definitely getting a divorce. Seeing how determined I was, Mark's eyes showed that he was asking for something. Sarah, think about Lily. She's so young and needs her father. Can't we just live together as a family? I was so angry at how he acted like he was right that I laughed. I already told you at the hospital when you gave up on Lily, you are not fit to be Lily's father. Do you really have the nerve to bring up Lily? Have you ever washed her diapers? How many times have you rocked her to sleep? At the city hospital, Lily asked me why you always held Tommy and not her. She wondered if you didn't like her. Hearing that broke my heart and made me feel ashamed. It was my fault for not choosing a good father for her. Even a child can see what is obvious. Do you think by pretending not to notice, your favoritism and neglect would disappear? As I kept asking him questions, Mark ran his hands through his hair, looking frustrated. He looked up, his eyes red from being tired. I do love Lily. Actions are more important than words. This so-called love of his that he only showed by talking was laughable. I held back a laugh. Maybe, but Lily never had a chance against Lisa and her son in your heart. I will never let Lily be just one option for you again. Mark's voice became rough. Sarah, why are you being so difficult? Can't we just go back to how things were? You and Lisa's family have things good. I and Lily don't, I said. I rolled my eyes, picked up my cup, and took a sip of warm water. I need a husband who is fully there, and Lily needs a father's love that is complete. Clearly, you can't give us that. So we might as well separate while we can. If you refuse the divorce, I might just have to talk to the other wives here about how you've been taking such devoted care of Lisa's family while ignoring your own. I finished speaking and tucked a loose piece of hair behind my ear. Thinking about your reputation, you might not be affected much. But Lisa, who is alone with her in-laws in a rural area, who knows what could happen to her? Lisa was Mark's weakness. When he heard me threaten her, he immediately became upset. Lisa is so innocent and kind. How could you use such rumors to hurt her? If you want a divorce, you will get what you want. I'll file the papers tonight. If it weren't for the arranged marriage and my grandfather insisting, do you think I would have married you? Sarah, don't think you are more important than you are. After 6 years of marriage, I finally understood why Mark had married me. It was for the arranged marriage, but the real reason was Lisa. She had chosen David, who seemed to have a better future. Mark's unspoken love for her died before it could even begin, becoming something he could never touch. With pressure from his grandfather marrying me, someone who would make the older generation happy seemed like the next best thing. I entered the marriage with hope. Mark treated it as a duty. That's how we ended up here, ending in sadness. Mark stormed back to the bedroom and slammed the door shut. I sat in the living room, realizing my cheeks were wet. They were my tears. Mark didn't waste any time. He filed for divorce the very next day. Since Mark was a high-ranking officer with a promising future, his coworkers were shocked by the sudden request. They even called me in to find out why. I wanted to deal with Lisa after the divorce was final. To the officers, I only said that our feelings for each other were gone and we couldn't live together anymore. They advised me to think about the child, but I insisted on the divorce, not changing my mind. In the end, a person's right to choose who they marry cannot be forced. They told me to wait at home for their decision, promising to take it seriously. On the way back, I picked up Lily from Lisa's apartment downstairs and brought her home. I didn't expect to see Lisa waiting for a long time at my door. Lisa was attractive. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gotten the attention of both David and Mark. Even though she stayed out of the spotlight and became a mother, she remained thin and charming. The news about our divorce had spread through the neighborhood. It wasn't surprising that she knew. She probably came to show off. She was certainly not easily embarrassed, was she? Did the slap at the hospital not leave a lasting impression? I invited Lisa inside and sent Lily to her room to play with her toys. When I came back, she was already sitting comfortably on the sofa. It was Lisa's first time in my house. She was actively looking at the decorations with eyes that seemed a bit greedy. Seeing me sit down, she quickly started her performance. "Sarah, seeing Lily healthy makes me feel better. I'm glad both children are okay. You aren't still mad at me, are you?" I gave her a fake smile. "Of course not. I was just being too emotional that day. Does your face still hurt?" Lisa's face became stiff. I had put all my strength into that slap. It was normal for it to hurt for 2 or 3 days. Lisa cared most about how she looked. Of course, she would be embarrassed. But people who are easily embarrassed don't get what they want. People who are not easily embarrassed get what they want. She wouldn't give up until she got what she came for. "Sarah, I heard you and Mark are getting a divorce. Is that true?" She was trying to get information, showing why she was really here. I put down the glass of water and smiled at her. "It's true. Mark's divorce papers have already been filed." Lisa got the answer she wanted and couldn't hide the smile at the corner of her mouth, which she quickly covered up. "You've been married for 6 years and have a daughter, Lily. How did it end up like this?" It seemed like she was worried, but she was actually happy about it. I didn't feel like pretending with her. "You are the happiest one about my divorce from Mark, aren't you? With how Mark feels about you, there's no doubt he'll think about marrying you first. Then you, Tommy, and Mark can be a real family." Lisa's face turned red at my accurate statement. "You're misunderstanding. David and Mark are good brothers. Mark has been taking care of Tommy and me all these years out of respect for David." She wanted to have everything her way. "Well, I wouldn't hold back then," I sneered. "Does David know his good brother has taken over his role as husband and father? After you gave birth, Mark brought you soup to help you recover, made formula for the baby, washed diapers. Whenever he had free time, he was at your place, fixing water pipes, repairing electrical problems. Even for something small, like when you were having your period, he'd bring you hot water bottles and brown sugar water. When there was a thunderstorm, you'd call him saying the baby was scared and needed his dad. I'm curious, didn't David die a hero? How is Tommy supposed to find his dad? Or do you teach Tommy to call Mark daddy?" Lisa looked like a scared rabbit, tears welling up in her eyes. "Sarah, how can you think that about me? Tommy is so poor, he never got to know his dad. I only ever show him David's picture and teach him to call him daddy. I couldn't care less who Tommy called daddy. I just couldn't stand Lisa's act anymore. It's just us here, so stop pretending. You chose David because you thought he had a better future. But then he died young, and you hardly had any good days. So you looked around and decided Mark was your best chance. For one, he had a close bond with David, and two, I paused on purpose. You knew from the beginning Mark had feelings for you, so after David's death, you used giving birth and the baby to tie Mark to your life, making him act like your husband and Tommy's father. The more someone invests, the more they value it, right? Weren't you pleased when Mark chose to save your son at the hospital? After trying to get him for so long, all you need now is to get rid of me, and you'll finally have the good life with both status and wealth. Seeing that I had revealed her true thoughts, Lisa stopped pretending. She took out a handkerchief and wiped her tears, no longer looking sad. Is it wrong to want a good life? It's David's bad luck that he died young and left me with a son. She sneered when she mentioned her son. Tommy just eats and sleeps, worthless. But he's David's son. Wouldn't Mark take care of his brother's child? I often called Mark for help, using the child as an excuse. By acting a little bit weak, I made him feel sorry for me. She smoothed out a fold in her dress proudly. Women should act weak to get men's sympathy. Mark is completely devoted to me now, don't you see? Putting a nice name on her relationship with a married man was just disgusting. I showed my disapproval, not wanting to talk any further. Okay, you're almost there. Mark is yours. I wish you both long-lasting happiness. Just then, the door opened, and Mark walked in, looking upset. The door was partly open. Who knows how much he heard. Seeing Mark, Lisa quickly went back to acting innocent, explaining why she was there. Mark, I heard about your divorce and came to talk to Sarah. But Mark's expression was cold and his voice was firm. Lisa, this is not your business. Go home. Tommy is waiting for you. Lisa knew when to leave and went, knowing she was close to getting what she wanted. Now it was just Mark and me in the empty living room. Did you mean what you just said? Mark asked. I looked at him confused. I said a lot. Which part are you asking about? Mark gritted his teeth and repeated, wish you both everlasting happiness. Of course I meant it, I said. True love deserves to be celebrated. Mark sat beside me, facing me directly. You're in such a hurry to push me to someone else? We're getting a divorce, why pretend otherwise? I pushed Mark away. I was clear yesterday. In 6 years, you haven't been a good husband or father. Instead of being unhappy together, let's go our separate ways. You agreed to the divorce, which is great. If not, I'll take Lily and move back to my grandparents' house. We can live separately. And besides, don't you want to marry Lisa and have your happy ending? I wasn't going to back down. Mark finally gave in. I owe you and Lily. If you want a divorce, then fine. You take Lily. I won't be able to take care of her properly. I'll leave all the money to you, and I'll send money for child support every month. I quietly snorted to myself. Can't take care of a child? Haven't you been doing just fine with Tommy? Lies. But Mark agreeing to the divorce was the best possible outcome. I got up and went back to Lily's room, leaving him alone in the living room. Having gotten the result I wanted, I slept very well that night. In the few days waiting for the divorce papers, I slowly packed up my things and Lily's things. I put some important items in a suitcase and sent the winter clothes back home. The house was left to me by my grandparents when I became an adult. Grandma always said a woman's house is not just a house, it's her confidence and a place she can fall back on. Now it seemed Grandma was really smart. Another 10 days passed and the divorce was officially completed. Mark and I went to finish the divorce process. I bought 2 train tickets to Philadelphia. Before leaving, I went to say goodbye to those women in the neighborhood. I casually mentioned the special relationship between Lisa and Mark, how Mark had been taking care of Lisa and her son like a husband and father, and how much Lisa and her son depended on Mark. Those women, with their ordinary lives, love this kind of interesting gossip. Even without being officially punished, Lisa would likely be left out by the other women. After all, everyone has a man at home, and they don't want to cause problems for themselves. The day we left, it had just rained, and the weather was a bit cooler. The train station was very crowded. I sat in the waiting area and took out a thermos to give Lily some water. Suddenly, I heard someone call my name. The voice was familiar. Sarah. I stood up without thinking and saw Mark frantically looking in the busy hall. He turned and saw me, running over to hold me tightly. Close to my ear, I heard his excited, regretful whispers. Sarah, I see you again. This isn't a dream, not a dream. I love you. I haven't liked Lisa for a long time. All these years, I only took care of her because I felt guilty and was being stubborn. I'm sorry. I've loved you for a long time. But I was insensitive and hurt you. From his words, I guessed he had also come back to life just like me. But so what? The damage had already been done. It was my good fortune to get a second chance and save my daughter. I had truly felt the deep pain of losing a child. Those times he treated others better and neglected us were real. I would never again put my happiness and my daughter's happiness in someone else's hands. Divorce was definite. I wouldn't look back. I pushed Mark away coldly, looking at him without any emotion. We got the divorce papers yesterday. Who you like has nothing to do with me anymore. Mark grabbed my hand, which was shaking slightly. Sarah, you came back too, didn't you? Let's forget about Lisa. Let's start over, just the three of us. I pulled my hand away from his with force, looking him in the eye and firmly refusing. No. The hurt, the pain, and the unfairness were all real. I no longer had any hope or expectation from you. Mark's eyes drooped with disappointment, sensing that I had made up my mind. The train was about to leave. Lily and I had to catch our train. Goodbye, Mark. Without looking back, I picked up my suitcase and held Lily's hand, walking towards the train. Behind me, I heard Mark's excited shout, Sarah, I won't remarry. I'll always love you. I laughed quietly without caring. We were divorced. What did it matter to me if he remarried or not? From now on, we were strangers. Only Lily connected us. With the help of the train worker, Lily and I found our seats easily. The train slowly started moving. I watched the view outside the window gradually moving away. A train only moves forward, never back. Life is the same. We must keep moving forward and never look back.